Hey, so I thought it would be cool to show you my favorite non-BIM tools, and I get BIM sometimes includes so many different tools, but these are like the tools that I use outside of what you would typically consider a BIM tool, like Navisworks or Revit. Um, this is the list here, so you could end the video here and this is it if you just want a list, but I'll go through each of these and just briefly talk about them. But these are the this is the list of tools that I use pretty often. There are other tools that I use, but these are the ones that I use probably every day. So the first one's Notion, and this is a incredibly powerful tool. You can compare it to OneNote. I think it's more intuitive than OneNote, and there's a lot of really cool stuff built into it where you can manage like databases, you can connect to other websites, you can create these really complicated or just crazy looking notebooks. Like here's a journal, and in that journal there's a sub journal called Computational Parametric Design Notebook, and in there I've got sections, and then I've got like YouTube or links to YouTube videos with notes about those videos, and then like examples and all these different cool things. So I can't get into everything it has, but if you haven't checked this out, check out Notion. It's really cool, and I think it is free. It's just limited. I pay for it, but I think there's a free version, but it's just limited on how much you can load into it and some other stuff. I can't remember, but check that out. This is another tool, and this tool is free. It's Jupyter Notebook. I use this a lot to test code, like little bits of code. There's like a little snippet here as an example, but you have your input, like here, your code, and you would write it, run the code, and the output would show below. If there was an output, you could do, like a print statement for Python. It'll print, hello world or whatever, and that would be the output. You could create these really useful notebooks. Visually, they're a lot. I want to say you can be very creative with them. It's a better way of showing code or talking about things. Like code is a part of the notebook, but the what you're maybe focusing on is clash detection, and that's what this is here. There's a whole notebook about clash detection where you run each of the lines and they have different outputs and stuff. So it's more than just code, but this interactive notebook that you can share with other people. They can run code. It's a great way to teach people too. So I've used this tool for years. I didn't mention it, but I've used Notion for about a year and a half, somewhere between there, a year to a year and a half. And I've been using Jupyter Notebooks probably for 2-3 years. Mural, that's a tool I've been using for about a year or two, and this is, I don't have a good example picture, but I've used this a number of times at my previous firm. This was a big part of how people were working. Think of like whiteboards and stuff. A bunch of people can get in here and you guys can start working through a certain thing. I've used this at my current firm quite a bit, and I love it. I think it works in specific places. I'm not using this all the time. I mentioned I use a tool every day. Mural is not one of them I use every day, but I think it is really powerful in the right, at the right time. So like one of the things I was trying to do was develop this strategy, and we were working with the BIM team, and the various people on the BIM team could get into this, and we could talk about different things together, add notes, work through that together. So there's a lot of different ways you can work with this. They have a lot of templates. It also is free. You can get up to 3 canvases. and after that, I think you have to pay for it if you want more canvases. And they're like unlimited canvases. There's also other tools like Draw.io, which are free. I think entirely free. So you can check those out too. I like Mural because it just seems professional. So Teams is a tool that I'm sure many people have used before. Other tools like that would be Discord or Slack. I primarily use Microsoft Teams at work, but I think it's a really powerful tool. And I've noticed a lot of people, they have it at work and they don't use it. They don't spend the time looking into it. It's more than just a chat system. You can set up channels with all these integrations with other tools so you can manage entire projects and have a really just one place to keep all your communication, your documents, your planning, everything. And I find it to be really useful with my team. So that's why I wanted to add it here. It's a work tool. I only use it at work, but it's really powerful. And if you have it, it's worth looking into to see all the cool things you can do in it. LinkedIn Learning has a lot of Teams courses on there. I've watched a couple, and that's how I learned a lot of the stuff in it. So that's a resource you could check out. I'm sure there's some good stuff on YouTube too. GitHub. So this is probably one of the other tools I don't use all the time, and I used to use it more when I had to manage projects in it, and those were on a private repo. A lot of the stuff, like the public stuff that you guys would see on my GitHub, I don't use a lot of the extra stuff in it, like managing code, because I don't usually work with another person. There's no like the projects or like the wiki and all that stuff. But I think there's a lot of use from this tool. It's really powerful, especially if you work in a place where you're actually developing stuff together. But I like the tool, and I typically will have it open, especially if I'm working on a Dynamo script or something. So the other one's OneDrive. I've been using OneDrive for like 5 years, I think, since I was in school or since I was in college. And I tried Google Drive or whatever it's called for a minute. I stuck with OneDrive because it was just easy. Under one subscription, I could get like Microsoft and PowerPoint and all those tools. I've been using it forever, and I just like it. It's easy. This isn't unique, or I think that's special, because a lot of people have used cloud storage before. But if you haven't, it's worth looking into, because what's powerful about this is you can sync it to your drive, you can work off files that are synced to the cloud, you can share those links easily with other people. You can also get on your phone and open documents on the fly. Like I've done that where I was in a meeting, I had to open up a Word document, I added some notes into the Word document real quick. Or if I needed to open a PowerPoint and look at that really quick, I can do that from my phone or from another device. So, and a lot of firms, if you're using Teams, you probably have this. And there's a way to actually take Teams and sync up your channels, like your channels folders, like your files, to your computer. Kind of like what you see here, so that you can work on stuff together as a team. So really powerful, and just like you can see here, this image is the YouTube videos, and it's the backlog, and you can see favorite non-BIM tools, and then a number of other ones. These aren't ones I've done yet, but they're ones that may change. I don't know. I may develop them, or I may create them or not. It all depends on what I feel like doing and what I have time for. So, but anyways, this is kind of what it looks like when it's synced to your drive, but you can access it in various ways through your phone and through online. The other tool is Grammarly. I use this all the time to double check when I'm writing something. I think that's important. I think it's always important, especially when you're sending an email to a client or even internally, to pause and review it, reread it, make sure it makes sense. Remember the audience that you're sending it to. Can you shorten it up a little bit? It gives you some recommendations on like what would be read in the email. Like, so if you wanted to highlight certain things, you could use this tool to help you rewrite, an email to make sure that the information that you want to come across to the person you're sending it to, that it does. So there's a lot of cool stuff in this tool. I'll use it. It integrates with like Google, so it may integrate with other browsers. It integrates with Word. And so, like in Google, if you're on LinkedIn, you're about to write a post, this will proofread it and then recommend some updates to it. So, if you're really good with grammar, probably not a great tool, but I'm not one of those folks. And this tool at least gives me a second, more eyes, just a second pair of eyes to look at the writing before I post it. So. And it is, and I didn't mention this. Let me go back one more. So GitHub, you do have to pay for that if you want like private repos and all that. But if you're just posting, it should be free. And I think maybe there's some other functionality wrapped up in that. I can't remember. OneDrive, I think it's $7 or $8 a month. That may have changed by now. Grammarly is also. I think it depends on if you get it like quarterly or annually. Annually, I think it's like $12 a month. I think all of those have free versions too. OneDrive does up to like 5 or 10 gigs. GitHub does. It is free as long as you're not wanting a private repo or some of the other functionality. In Grammarly, it's free but limited. Grepper is another really cool tool. I use this a lot, especially when I'm working with Python or C Sharp, that I will go and search for something. Sometimes I'll forget basic things, like in Python, like, oh, what's that string function or whatever. And I find it to be really handy when it comes to that stuff because, like here, it says Hello World in Python, and you can see the code right there below. And then over to the right is a voting system, and that voting system kind of tells you what's good or not. So you can see here 84, and we can see print Hello World, and we can see others, and you can look at more, show 10 more greppers, and you can create, like when you sign, like you do this, it's a Chrome extension, but when you add it and you become like, after you add it, you essentially have an account with them. You can, when you search for something, if it's not there, but you find it in an article, you can add it. But also, it does that automatically, if I remember. So, I can't remember who it is, Geeks or whatever. It's a common programming site that usually has like code like this for just questions and things. But Grepper will actually pull that stuff out and then show it here so that it's easy. And that's the point, is that it's easy. So you search for a certain code. I want to do this with a string, and then instead of having to click on a link and look through a page, and that may sound like it's not a big deal, but I find it to be pretty quick because right off the bat I can see that's the code I want. I don't need to read an article or click on a separate link. I can just see what I need, and then I can move forward from there. So, yeah, it's pretty helpful. I like it, and it tracks what you're searching, which is kind of interesting. So you can see how much you look at these different texts. If you're looking at, or I say text, but languages or even tools, and it kind of gives you a chart, a view of like how much you're spending in Python compared to these other languages or tools. Microsoft To Do, I really like this tool. I don't use it to the full extent. Like, I'm sure other folks use it for tracking different things, maybe project tasks. I don't do it to that extent. What I do is I've got food for like recipes and stuff because I like cooking. But these other ones, so AEC stuff, I need to review it, and I just put a note in there that says need to review because it probably needs to be categorized into a Notion board or something and notes added. So tonight's read, that what that tells me is just put it here. Like maybe it's a BIM article or some YouTube video related to BIM or something that's interesting. I'll put it there and then watch it at night or at some point when I'm free. Categorize is just something I find that isn't something I'm going to read, but something I want to store for later just so I remember it. And usually I will take that stuff and put it into my Notion board, categorized in some place, which has been really handy because we hear all these buzzwords all the time like DFMA, digital twin, all this stuff. Computational design, and on the fly we're just expected to be experts at this stuff, and so what I've done is I create these notebooks like what is DFMA, what's digital twin, BIM is like what's BIM, and then I take all these articles, all these different notes that I have, my own notes, articles, different things, and I put them in Notion to try to keep that stuff organized, and like BIMX plans, all my notes, all things that I find in the industry. There's a lot of good stuff, 10 years ago that were posted that I'll see that are still relevant and just wonderful articles because they spent a lot of time, but they get lost in time. So that's why when I find that stuff, I want to put it in here so that I can categorize it so I always have it there when I need to bring it up. And then I've got other stuff, which is just random management or whatever, and then video ideas like YouTube videos. I think this is the last one, yeah. So Canva, it's a cool tool. This is what the thumbnail for this video is, the one that you're watching currently. That's what I use Canva for. I also use Canva to schedule posts on LinkedIn. So if I have a video that I'm going to post, then I could schedule like just a LinkedIn post when I know the video is going to be posted. You can also do you can create presentations up there. You can do videos. There's all this editing stuff that you can do. It's all within the browser. I really enjoy the tool. I use it probably more for the thumbnails than anything, but if you're creating something on the fly, it has some pretty interesting just modifying tools. Like you can create stuff pretty quickly if you want to create a quick thing for PowerPoint, or there's a lot of cool stuff in it. So, and it's not terribly expensive if it's something you want to do. And if you're a marketer or somebody that works in that area, I think there's a lot of things that you can do in it. You can create like these marketing bundles or whatever with all this different stuff pre-set up based off of your company colors and things like that. So I like it for thumbnails and also scheduling posts. Some one-off things I'll use it for. But you could easily use, depending on your use case, use a tool like PowerPoint if all you're doing is creating thumbnails. So that was it. Those are my favorite tools. I like them. I enjoy them. I'd love to hear what your favorite tools are and what you're using. And if you have a list of favorite tools, feel free to share them in our Discord. This is an old image. We've got 460, and I could be way off on that. I'm just going to check real quick. We've got 646 members in the Discord, and we've got a number of different channels that are talking about different things. Check that out. If you and feel free to share those list of cool tools, or if you want to talk about other things, check that out. The link is here below, and then also it's in the description. But if you like the video, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.